Hi, I'm Rick Lean, your host today for Cycle City Solutions. We're here today to talk about tires, motorcycle tires. You know, you only have two of them, and we probably ought to get them right. One of the most common questions I get are, how are my tires? Well, as you can see by these tires, these are all new tires, have lots of tread on them. Let's go look at your tires. Here we are in the service department. This is where it really all happens. And I have in front of me one of the two motorcycles I want to talk about this morning. Now, yes, there is a good, a bad, and the ugly to tires. This happens to be the good. Now, I think you have to be in the habit of developing a routine as to how you look and maintain your motorcycle tires. And I would start this way. Let's start off with what we would call a depth gauge analysis. Now, I have this exotic gauge that has a combination of air and depth to it. But you don't need anything quite that exotic. Perhaps a penny, a Lincoln penny, where you'd use the standard test of sticking it in the tread, and is there space between the top of the head and the tread face? This one happens to pass the test, and you know that you have adequate tread, if tread is your example. The next step would be, let's take a look at the overall condition of the tire. And it's nice to do it on a center stand or a lift of some type, but there's no substitute for looking at the tire. How does it look? You know, if you believe in Murphy's Law, there's always an obstruction or something on the other side of the tire. And when you turn it, you'll see it. The next thing would be to check the air pressure. There probably is nothing more important than checking air pressure, and do it on a regular basis. If you're driving and filling the tank once a week, let's check the tires once a week. They will change, and you're looking for tire pressures that are within the manufacturer's recommended pressure range for the tire. You don't need an exotic gauge like this. One of the simple stick valves will work very well, but have it with you and have it as part of your regular maintenance plan. Last but not least, I would use what I call the hand test. You know, your hand will tell you a lot that the eyes won't. And you run it across the face of the tire, just like this. Don't be afraid to press on it, and don't be afraid to get your hand dirty, because that's how it works. That pretty much confirms what I saw already, that the tire looks pretty good, and it feels, yes, that's right, it feels okay. You'll feel things that you cannot see. And when you're all done, you're going to be in a position to tell what the condition of that tire is. Now, let's go to the ugly. This is a tire that is on a sport bike that is about 10 years old. Well, as I look around the tire, there doesn't seem to be any tread depth. So I guess that pretty much answers the question. Now, as a point of reference, this is what that tire looks like when it's new. And if you're looking in the center of the tire, you would find tread depth that looks about like that. So we know from a tire quality, tread depth quality, that this is a tire that probably ought to be replaced. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to do just a visual inspection of the tire. And all I'm doing is looking at the face of the tire, and I'm looking for obstructions, nails, most anything. I just don't have a set agenda, but I want to see how the surface looks. Doesn't look too bad, other than the fact that we don't have much tread on here. Last but not least is I'm going to apply the hand. The hand seems to tell all, and in this case it tells it very visually. I can feel a flat spot running right down the center of it. You see it a little bit, but you feel it even more. And that pretty much confirms that that tire ought to be replaced. You know, when you put the new one against the old one, it's very, very obvious that there's a considerable difference. Hard to imagine when looking at this by itself that it's that worn, except when you have the comparison against the new one. Is there any question? No. More importantly, when you put this tire on, you'll experience what motorcycling is all about, handling. You've lost it here, besides safety and a bunch of other things. When you come back to here, you regain the safety, you regain all sorts of other things, but you regain the intangible, and that's handling. And that's what motorcycling is about. We've talked about motorcycle maintenance. We've talked about developing a routine, whether it's tire pressure, whether it's tire depth, or whether it's feeling or looking at your tire, that ought to be part of your regular routine. When I go out and get ready to ride, I do these things first, not last. You have a pair of hands, you have the Lincoln penny, and you have a pair of eyes. All the tools you need to make that part of your routine. So, ride safe. If you have any questions for the future, direct them to me, Rick, at Cycle City Solutions, and have fun.